Participate and join in this conversation online as we carry on with it. And it's been a rather interesting week. We'll start first of all with matters local before we look at the international plane. But one of the things that we could start with is what made headlines, I think, 2 or 3 days in a row. And this is Matiang'i's expanded role. And this, of course, to do with Executive Order number 1, 2019 by the President. And this was the President basically saying that Dr. Matiang'i is now going to be in charge of government projects. And there are those who felt that possibly this was trying to sideline the Deputy President. Others who felt that it was purely Dr. Matiang'i's performance that was earning him more work to do. And they normally say, if you want work done, give it to the busiest person. Normally, apparently it is done well. Bichachi, your thoughts on the President's executive order?
Well, I think it's critical to understand that Uhuru seems to have realized a few things about government. And the first thing that he seems to have realized is that you need enforcers within the Kenyan government. It seems that the Kenyan civil service is both lethargic and inert to change. So it means that if you look at Matiang'i's record, in whichever ministry he's been able to bulldoze the civil service to deliver the changes that are required by the President, whether it's in education, whether it's today in internal security, or in IT where he previously was. Let's remember, he's the one who previously dealt with the media houses
and shut down
media to make sure that the digital migration happened. So Uhuru is correct in the sense that he realizes that for his big four to happen, he needs a bulldozer to be able to push it. Now, the people who are reading the politics of it all, I will not argue with them as to whether they are right or wrong, okay? But I will tell them this. If they are right, then are they right for the right reasons? And if they are wrong, are they wrong for the wrong reasons? This is what I mean. If today the Deputy President is being sidelined, okay, is it for the betterment of the country? If he isn't, is it for the betterment of the country? As Kenyans, we need to be selfish. Personally, I don't care whether it's called Matiang'i or Marangi or whatever it is. For me, what matters is delivery of services and the promises of Jubilee to the public. The politics of it, who gets to do it, is none of our business. And the truth of the matter is, come 2022, what we will judge Ruto's candidacy to be is the effectiveness of the Jubilee government. So even for Ruto, if Matiang'i is able to deliver, then Ruto is, by law, by constitution, a member of that success. So I think the conversation, though politically viable, I honestly think it's totally misplaced.
Okay, and you know, with all due respect and everything, there's no law that the President has broken. It's just now that the politics of it come in. But let me also now take this opportunity to introduce Njiru Ndegwa, who's joining us now. He's a lawyer. Welcome, and good to have you. But let me come to you, Nerima, first of all. And question is, what does Matiang'i's appointment say, or his expanded role, say about the structures that we have in place? Because really, there should already be structures in those ministries that ensure the services are delivered, and there is a reporting, there's a presidential delivery unit, for example, which is already, we're duplicating roles here, aren't we?
We are. I think we should be concerned with our individualistic structures. We seem to place a lot on particular individuals, and it's not the first time. I think people would always remember Michuki, or people would always remember Biwott because of the...
Karisa.
Yes, exactly, because of the roles that they played during an administration, and everybody felt that they were the go-to person, the Mr. Fix-It, Superman of everything in this government. And that is concerning because it makes you think, then what kind of systems or institutions do we have? Are they so weak that it needs a very strong-willed individual to make things work? Do we need to have somebody who is a prefect to watch over everything to make sure things work? So those are the loopholes that I'm witnessing, especially when we see how Matiang'i has been appointed. And unfortunately, that's not what Kenyans are asking. They are thinking just like Mark. I'm so tired of things not working and corruption everywhere. Matiang'i seems to know what he's doing. Thank God he's been appointed. So now we're moving somewhere. And that now begs me to question, what happens when Matiang'i's not there? Do we just hope and pray that after he goes, there'll be another one?
There'll be another one who'll come up.
And that shouldn't be the solution to our problems. It shouldn't be.
All right, Njiru Ndegwa,
Yes.
karibu sana.
Asante.
And your thoughts on this, and maybe it really talks about very weak structures that we have in
Yes.
institutions that we have.
Yes.
And that needs to be strengthened. When we depend on individuals, then we end up, going round in circles.
Yeah, that's a tragedy that this country has always been having, and I concur with her that we had the likes of the Meshuki, and when Meshuki was no more, we could no longer speak about the Meshuki rules. And for them to be fixed again, we had to see a Matiang'i face. For the exam to be done without stealing and anymore, we had to see a Matiang'i face. So the question is, then how do we harmonize and how do we make sure that government works and that it is not individuals who are actually working, it is the system that is working. But I guess that the president was a bit frustrated with the whole aspect of delivery of the Big Four agenda. Remember, this is a president who is in exit.
He has a legacy to think about.
Yeah, and the president who is in exit has an agenda of what he's calling the legacy. He had bestowed all this responsibility on his deputy. At a particular point, he even cautioned that the deputy should not even engage in politics. The deputy thought that he has had an opportunity now of trying to have his visibility seen in everywhere, going allegedly launching projects. And even when he's cautioned that he should not do this, he takes that route and tries to ridicule the presidency and says, Rais, nikitangatanga nitakuja kukuambia maha watu wamemaliza. So at the end of the day, even if the deputy president was not playing a major role in trying to propagate his 2022 succession campaign, the people who are following up, the likes of Kimani Waishungwa, the likes of Dindi Nyoro, the likes of Kangata, and the rest, they never heeded the president's call of seizing politicking of 2022. And the president realized that this is going to affect his legacy. So he needed somebody whom can fix, 1. 2, a person who is royal. 3, a person whom he can sack if he feels or he fails to heed to the line of implementing the legacy aspect. Remember, the deputy president is one who had been given that mandate of trying to supervise how far the government has implemented.
Okay.
But the president could never sack the president. So he needs somebody who has to report and be loyal
To what he has to say. And that I think is a very, let me say, formal template of what it should be. But we cannot ignore the politics of Kenya and how these things play out. And I'll give you reasons why. Number one, remember the president is on record as saying you will be surprised at who my what did I call it? The person who will take over from me, who my choice will be.
Yes,
He's
yes.
on record as saying that. Then we cannot ignore somebody like David Murathe's outburst and him, quitting Jubilee. I'm not quitting Jubilee, but as, holding vice chair of Jubilee. And this could also be speaking to what we have seen playing many times in Kenyan politics, which you'd call politics of deception, politics of, and they're both on record. Remember, the president is on record saying that yangu kumi na ya Ruto kumi. Bad manners politics, Mark Bichachi. Do we have an honest political system that can stick to what they say?
Let's start here. I actually penned an article towards the end of last year, and I said what Uhuru owes us. And I said Uhuru owes us a successor who will be able to continue the development and the legacy of this country. That is the debt that Uhuru owes us. Now, the reason why I say that, it is very dangerous as a country if we are to continue to perpetuate the politics of debt and the politics of just because I supported Nerima as MP, I should be the next MP. The danger of that is this, that then the people are blinded from making an informed decision about who their leaders are. Because, to me, the statement by Uhuru Kenyatta saying 10 years for me, 10 years for Ruto, is a statement that he cannot make, neither can he guarantee. He could not guarantee his second term. That is why.
So in short, you're saying it was a political statement for that time. It sounded good.
Exactly. But two, let's also understand that if ever in this country that we begin to play tokenism with high offices, then we are in danger. It behooves us as a country, and I'm not saying this as someone who's against Ruto, and this is why Kenyans are too sensitive. Kenyans need to understand, and Raphael Tuju put it very, very well, that for anyone to run for the candidature of the presidency of any political party, whether it is NAC, whether it is NAC Kenya, whether it is Sisi kwa Sisi party, whatever, they need to go through the rigors of nomination. They need to go through the rigors of political exercise. The importance of that cannot be understated, because that is how someone who's unknown, like Wakili here, can rise through the ranks of a political party. So for me, that is not betrayal. Let's be very, very clear. Uhuru has no ticket, let's be clear, to hand over to anyone. Neither does Raila Odinga have a ticket to hand over to anyone. Let me tell you the reason why. If today that included a betrayal, then the MOUs that have been signed from 2002 to today in 2019, all those MOUs that quote unquote have been broken, why hasn't one politician taken them to court? Because we understand that they are not enforceable. Because there's no way you can say that let's have a contract between me and you and have 44 million Kenyans vote on it. Then how do I then enforce that contract?
Absolutely. Nerima, this should be an aha moment for Kenyans, by virtue of the fact that maybe the reason why they voted the way they did for certain people is because of some of those promises. But history has taught us a harsh lesson that MOUs in Kenya don't work. They are for convenience. They are for today, and the minute tomorrow morphs into something different, then we have something different. And the question here being, how do we move forward, given that Kenyans seem to believe politicians like sheep? In other words, when they say, let's go this way, we go. Wakisema katiba iko sawa, tunaenda. Wakisema, but we need to move away from that kind of thinking, and that narrative needs to change. It should be an aha moment for Kenyans.
It should be, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, it was after the attack, and he said a comment, how can somebody be so clouded to think that doing something like this would be great for you as an individual? And I said, that's how I feel about our politics, where we seem to be able to think, conversate, make decisions, but as soon as it comes to following a political leader, we become clouded in terms of we're not looking at ideas. We're not thinking. We're not looking at ideas. We're not looking at the future. We're not looking at what this individual has brought to the table. And that's the cloud that I honestly do not understand. But one of the things that I think will change and will have to change is the fact that people are now getting more aware of what the Constitution is. It's 8 years old. It's not taught in school, but where are you supposed to learn it? Because apparently we're supposed to all know it. So, so it's just a thing where we need to start conversating as to how do people learn about their Constitution, how do people know the kind of roles these leaders are supposed to play. Because if I talk to a group of youth and ask them what's the difference between an MCA, an MP, a governor, they have no clue. But these are the same people that you expect them to make such major decisions about. So it's kind of, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Jiro, do you think we are actually learning? Do you think Kenyans are learning? Or come 2022, are we going to be again beheaded like sheep and have to follow certain narratives for that day, for the convenience of that day? MOUs don't work.
Again, that is tragedy of our politics, that Kenyans have been held hostage by the politics of victimization and politics of instilling apprehension. Why do I say this? I say this because for a Mount Kenya person to vote and for him to vehemently appear in 2007 and 2017 and cast a vote for Uhuru, he was not just casting a vote for Uhuru. The vote was supposed even to act as an injunction or even as a bar to make sure that Raila does not come anywhere near the presidency. Not because Raila is a bad person, but because the Mount Kenya people have been, they have been put into one basket of having that fear of Raila, that if he comes, oh, the businesses will not work out, If he doesn't come, this and this will happen. And so it is. Even in 2022, the same is playing out. That people are now being told, if you do not vote in a certain way to ensure that you enforce a particular promise that was given to a particular person, this and this will happen in this and this region, to this and this community. So we do no longer vote on issue-based politics, but we vote because we want either to preserve one of our own, two, or we want to preserve the status. For instance, there's been, and I think that person has even been presented in court and charged, a person who wrote in the social media saying that if you guys from Mount Kenya region, you don't do this and this, then 2007 will just have been like a Christmas. Wait for much more. So we need to put into place institutions that work. We need to tell our people that you do not vote Uhuru Kenyatta because he's a Kikuyu. You don't vote William Ruto because he's a Kalenjin. You don't vote Raila Odinga because he's a Luo. You vote a person who is capable of meeting the values and the objectives of the Constitution. And if Kenyans would address their mind to Article 10 of the Constitution, which is a mother clause and the theme that runs throughout the Constitution, and the theme that is supposed to be replicated even in our institution. One, the value of transparency, the value of accountability, the value of integrity, the value of observation of the rule of law, the value of inclusivity, the value of public participation. All those provisions are contained in Article 10. So if institutions would comprehend, if schools would comprehend, if we would have a way of teaching people Article 10, even those people who go to serve would actually serve in the mind of serving the people. Because if Article 10, which is supposed to bind all state organs, state officers, whenever any of them applies the law, implements the law, and implements any policy, then the Kikuyus would not have any fear that Raila will have any bad implication with them. The Luos would not have any fears. The Kalenjins would not have any fear. And nobody would ever have any fear in this country, because would then be speaking about a government that is people-oriented, and a government that is people-inclined, and that is responsive to people's plights and challenges.
All right, and there's the Embakasi by-election that's coming up.
Yes.
And Mark, one of the things is that sometimes Kenyans find themselves with very little choice. For example, we have now Jubilee is not going to field a candidate. We have ODM who are going to field one against the Wiper gentleman, I forget his name, but in terms of even the choices we're given, and this plays out even on the national level when it comes to elections. The question here being, you're given Mark Bichachi and told, this is the man that you have to choose. I mean, what choice do you have? Is that really democracy, Scott?
Well,
right from the party level.
Well, this country really needs to work on its party primary issues. Number one, we need to understand that both Jubilee and ODM and even Wiper and all these political parties had very, very acrimonious party primaries. And that's where the rain begins to beat us. It begins to beat us because if you listen to Kabogo, for example, and the party primaries of Jubilee in Kiambu, he will tell you it was an absolute travesty. Now, the place where we are torn as a country is, do we continue to have sham party primaries, or do we have legitimate party primaries? Now, even if you wanted to have legitimate party primaries, do you have legitimate paid up members of a political party? A lot of people today discover they're members of political parties when they text a certain number, and then you're told, voila, you are a member of party XYZ.
Which you'd never signed up to.
Never subscribed to. And number two, even if you became a member of Jubilee or ODM in 2017, and you've not paid your membership to date, are you a member of that political party? So are political parties even able to have those primaries? However, it is critical that we begin to have primaries, because I have told you that this hand-picked leadership system that we have is dangerous. It is dangerous because what will happen if Sonko was to pick the person to follow him? Then what would happen? We would have another prefect of prisoners becoming a governor. That is what will be the norm, because you can never select someone who's not after your kind. So he will look for another ex-con, he will look for another ex-thief to continue his manifesto of thought, because people have been robbed of choice. So what needs to change, and it needs to change quickly and critically, is we need to be able to have political parties where someone who's just finished high school, does not have a cent to their name, can go to that political party, sell their ideas, and be nominated within that party, and then funded and supported by that party to run for office. It's actually one of the ways of killing corruption, because today, to stand for a party primary, even if you want to do it legitimately, you have to have a bus to transport your voters to the polling station. Then you go to hire goons to protect yourself from the other goons who the other guy will hire. So it becomes an exercise for the rich. So what needs to happen is political parties need to have primaries where someone without a cent can participate in the political process because the political party will support him. And how do you change that? Kenyans need to begin to become paid up members of political parties. You cannot claim to want ODM to run primaries when you do not finance ODM. Let the people who finance ODM make that decision. That is Raila and a few of his friends. That's how it is. You don't pay for it. How do you expect to say what is going to happen there?
Nerima, do we have Kenyans and youth specifically, because that's your frontier and the people you deal with, who are actually members of political parties? Are you a member of a political party?
No, but that's because my organization does not permit me, because of the role that I lead. But members in the organization and youth that I deal with, depending on the area, interestingly.
The tribe.
Yes, but they are members, but I think that...
Registered members?
Registered.
Okay.
Paid
Registered,
up.
No, they are. That
Paid
one
up.
with cards, yes.
Paid up
but
every month?
Not every month, they pay annually.
Yeah.
But what I do think we need to be concerned about, even if you pay up, what do these political parties do? Because I pass many of them, and they just have the receptionist, and that's it. Maybe the politicians gallivanting, but they don't have activities. They don't even try to recruit before an election. They wait for an election year to do that. They don't do any civic education in terms of what their ideology or manifesto as a party is. A lot of youth don't know the difference between the parties.
Yes.
They just follow the individuals. So as much as we're saying we pay up and give money to these political parties, my concern is, are they doing any activities in enriching the population as to why you should believe in their particular party? Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
And maybe just to concentrate on cases that are actually happening. We have Jubilee not fielding a candidate in Embakasi. So we have two NASA leaders basically going head to head.
Yes. To me, I do not even think that we have political parties in Kenya, and I concur with Dismas Mokoa. He keeps on saying that these are special purpose vehicle for a particular purpose. If you went to Mount Kenya region in 2017 during the politicking period, everybody was a member of Jubilee. Everybody had Jubilee red T-shirts. If you went to Kisumu, so it was. If you went to Kambani, then everybody was Wiper. And so these are not that they do not have anything that they stand for. Secondly, people do not have the reason why they need to subscribe to that particular political party. Because one, they have no ideology. They are only meant to come and achieve a particular agenda. And that is why political parties, those things that appear to be political parties in Kenya, keeps on mutating each and every election. If you remember in 1992, we had Ford. It mutated to, and then Ford, don't you forget that Ford is the one that fought for the multipartyism. So it ought to have been one of the parties that is now very well rooted, very well democratized, but at the end of the day, it mutated to serve people's interest. We went to Ford Asili, Ford Kenya. Now we came to DP, DP went to PNU, PNU went to NAK Mwenge, and now recently we had TNA and URP. When TNA and URP realized that they are not able to serve the purpose for capturing power in 2017, they again mutated for purposes of capturing power in 2017 and came up with an outfit called Jubilee. And again, Jubilee is also going to mutate to something else for purposes of capturing power in 2022.
Yeah.
So we have no political parties. And the problem is with the office of the Registrar of Political Parties. She is the one, or he is the one, who has failed this country. Remember, the Political Parties Act is one of the most comprehensive statute that deals with how an organization should look at, or be like, or how an outfit should appear. But the registrar has completely refused to implement the Political Parties Act, because she is there to serve the interest of individuals. The moment we shall have people who can actually sacrifice their self-interest to serve Kenyans is the day that we shall start saying we have now started walking the right way. When we shall have a Director General sitting in the NYS, not to enrich himself, but to serve Kenyans. When we shall have the NCPB person sitting somewhere to serve Kenyans, to buy maize, to deal with the question of food security and not to steal, then we shall be somewhere. When we'll have the Kenya Power and Lighting General Manager sitting somewhere and saying that I want every house to be lit, that is the day, and not to enrich myself, that is the day we'll go somewhere. And again, so, when we shall have a president who will say that enough is enough, I am going to put into place systems that will make sure that Kenyans receive the services that they desire. That's the day that we start saying we are now walking towards the anticipated and the aspired and the kind of the country people have been willing to do. But you can see, the president probably means well for the country when it comes to fight issues of corruption. But again, you hear some people, because they think that corruption will not be able the issue of corruption will affect their selfish interests for 2022. They are then saying that the president is fighting corruption in a manner that suggests that he's trying to burst somebody for 2022 interests. But the question is being put, why is it that the time we started fighting with corruption, Harambes have started to reduce all of a sudden, and people are not all of a sudden so much proactive in these Harambes? What has happened? What is the correlation between Harambes and corruption? Because there must be a correlation, otherwise we should be having the same Harambes. Remember, the idea was, unajua mimi sitaki kuwa hustler hapa duniani na nikuwe hustler binguni. Has it now time come that I now have chosen to become a hustler in heaven as well?
Wow. Some heavy stuff there, and not even sure how to react to that. But I want us to move on to